Yeah, I'm messing up.
You want me to come up?
No, it's all good. This will just be on to the students and everybody. That's okay. They won't be mad at me. All right. Hi. My name is Michael Gray. I am the Care Center counselor at Poly High School, and I also teach 6 periods of career tech ed, health science, like behavioral health science classes. And I do that because that's how we keep the Care Center open. And the Care Center traditionally, pre-COVID, would help 1,200 students a year. We'd have 1,200 student visits, actually 1,200 student slash parent slash teacher visits every year, or contacts, but the vast majority were students. So that's a good statistic for you guys, right? So I'm going to kind of go down these questions. The first one has to do with stigma. How can we encourage the youth to reach out for mental help or advice? And I kind of want to talk about 2 things. And one is accessibility, that we have to create space and availability and ease and comfort for young people to use mental health help, like whatever that help looks like or what form it takes. So more accessible, easier to find, easier to use, no barriers, okay? And then of course, another one would be to become familiar with what mental health actually is and what mental health help actually is, because there's all these misconceptions about what that stuff is. And through the rest of the questions, I'm going to try and do my best to alleviate what those misperceptions are. Okay, so that would be 2 things for the first question. Second question, what do you think is creating the stigma around mental health? Well, I mean, one is obviously a societal one, that it's a sign of weakness in terms of if you don't have good mental health, right? If you're struggling, that means you're weak. There's also another stigma of that people with mental health situations are violent or dangerous, right? And then there's the reality of there's a lot of discrimination against folks that are experiencing mental health situations or are open about that. Look, I'm working on my mental health in whatever area it might be. And relationships, there's discrimination in relationships, there's discrimination in jobs. Just it isolates people, like people get weirded out because their friend or maybe a significant other or a family member is going through mental health issues. Okay. And that all comes from the way our country looks at mental health. And we look at it as a deficiency when it's really mental health issues, whatever they might be, is actually an attempt to solve a problem. It's a reaction to something that's going on in someone's life. That's really what it is. So it's not some weird behavior or whatever. It's an attempt to deal with something that's really difficult. Okay? And that's the same for alcoholism or any addiction or whatever. And I'm not equating mental health issues with an addiction like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that all of this stuff that society views as abnormal or whatever like that it's an attempt to solve a problem. Am I saying it's a good way to solve a problem? No, right? But it's definitely trying to alleviate some kind of pain or hurt or feeling of being deficient, like all that kind of stuff. All right. Number 3 in the stigma category, how can we prioritize maintaining the youth's mental health? Well, we need to flip the whole thing. All right. So we as a country, for just about everything, we're a reactive country. We're not proactive. So how can we be proactive rather for mental health and young people? That would be to have, there's 57 million pre-K through grade 12 public school students in the United States, give or take a couple 100,000 or whatever. Okay, as of last year it was 57 million. And when we flip it and put the focus on mental health skills, which are also emotional intelligence skills, and we look at those as skills that are equal and in many cases more important than academic skills, then that's what will bring all of this stuff to people's front, as opposed to where it's like stuck in the dark, if that makes sense, right? So every time I'm speaking with someone, you know how you're supposed to have an elevator pitch for something that is important to you? Here's my elevator pitch. Let's elevate mental wellness skills and emotional intelligence skills equal to academics. That means, and how do you learn stuff, right? How do you learn any skill? You practice it. And to learn it in a good way, like where it sticks with you, you practice it every day. My Spanish got way better when I was forced to practice it every day with folks stumbling through, getting help, right? People correcting me, people encouraging me, right? It's no different. Same with math, right? And it's no different than, and I'll explain what I think are real mental health skills, mental wellness skills, emotional intelligence skills. They all go together. What those skills are, and they're not what we put them out there to be in the world. All right. So prioritizing young people's mental health would be to have it as a regular part of our school day, our school curriculum. Right? Our teachers are good at it, no matter what academic area that they teach. Right? Okay. Next is school support. What mental health help is offered in school? And then counseling. At Poly, we are one of probably, I don't even know what, a few percent of public schools in the country have a care center. But we have a care center, and we started it back in the 90s, late 90s. I was head counselor. Mr. Ashley was the principal, and we brought Mr. Gonzalez on to Poly High School, and that's all he did. He had a stop-in center, the care center, where students could come, teachers could refer students, friends could refer their friends, parents could call, you name it. And we also had started a peer counselor or peer conflict mediation program when we worked together at Washington Middle School back in the 1980s. And so we just carried that on into high school when Mr. Gonzalez was the first care center counselor, and he created a peer counseling program. And that was like, it's super, we carried on to today. Mr. Gonzalez retired, I took over for him, which was cool since I had helped create it back, when it first started. So I'm trying to keep it going. So we have a care center, and that's super. Why is that helpful, and why should every school have it? because it's super accessible, which is what we talked about in the first series of questions, is when it's hard to get to, when it's hard to get at, when it feels awkward to go to, then I'm not going to do it as much as if it's easier for me just to walk there or have someone send me there. It's super more effective when it's on campus, which is another thing that we have, which is typically off campus, sometimes on campus, but typically off campus. We can refer students to psychologists, to other counselors, and psychiatrists. So that's off campus. So we obviously have that. And then our school counselors. Our school counselors in Long Beach have about 600-700 students, which is ridiculous. So the bulk of their time, unfortunately, is on academic stuff, which is important. Whenever I say, whenever I equate mental health with academics and trying to make them equal, I'm not putting down academics. Duh, we need that stuff, right? But having a 4.0, we could argue all day, I suppose, but it'd be hard to prove it wrong, where if I have a 4.0 but my mental health is all jacked up, or I'm not happy and so on and so forth, what good is my 4.0 other than I guess I get into a college that I want to get into? Which is interesting because what's the most popular class at Yale? All right, so Yale, super hard to get into, right? Super prestigious university. But students get there, they work their whole life to get into Yale. And I guarantee it's at any other Ivy League or Berkeley or Stanford or, any hard to get into university. And they get there and they're like, okay, I'm here, I should be way happier than I am. And they're still stuck in their anxiety or depression, or it even gets a little bit worse because now they've reached a goal and it doesn't mean as much. So what's the most popular class at Yale? It's a Psych 157 from Professor Santos, and it's really like teaching us how to be happy and how to be fulfilled, and their mental health skills, their mental wellness skills that she teaches. And she uses research, which is what I do in my class, uses research to dispel the notions of what's important and brings into focus what really is important in your life, okay? And that's leading me, into what real mental wellness skills are, which is being able to put aside what society tells you is important, right? And then you learn, once again, from research and from practice, what really is important. And then what that does is it allows you to be better at your academics. It allows you to be better at your career, and so on and so forth, okay? Number 2. Are there any specific improvements that can be done to better the mental health of students? Man, yes. I said it earlier, but it's going to be a recurring theme. Make mental health, mental wellness skills, emotional intelligence skills part of our everyday curriculum. Once we do that, then we're going to change this whole thing. We become proactive, okay? And let me break it down even further. This is simple. This is as simple as mental health can be. If we would teach every student how to do proper breath work, even to the point of just breathing through your nose all day. When we breathe through our mouth, our brain interprets that as something to be anxious about. Okay, when we breathe through our nose, our brain interprets that as, okay, everything's pretty chill. Okay, and then there's specific ways to breathe to manage your emotions. Are people getting enough water? If you're not hydrated, that affects your mental wellness. Okay, if you're not getting the proper amount of sleep, that affects your mental wellness. We don't teach this stuff. In fact, in extra high level programs around the country, sleep is frowned upon. And that's actually affecting people's mental wellness over and over and over again, exponentially. Okay, what are you eating? Right? Do you exercise? Those are mental wellness skills. Okay? And we don't preach that. Why? Because they're all free. All right? And our pharmaceutical industry in this country can't make a profit if you know how to regulate your emotions through breath work. If you're learning how to regulate how your body is feeling based on your exercise or your nutrition. You get what I'm saying? So that's a big problem. That's why we're a reactive country, because there's no profit in proper mental wellness skills. What's some more? Are you living in gratitude? Just the simple act of living in gratitude all day is a mental wellness skill. Okay. Do you know how to do accurate thinking? Like, how do you speak out about yourself? Are you able to catch your negative thoughts that are running through your mind? Do you keep your negative thoughts from coming out loud? Like, stop speaking negatively out loud is a mental wellness skill, an emotional intelligence skill. Why? Because when I speak the negativity out loud, it's extra powerful. Okay? So I need to stop doing that, and we don't teach people how to stop doing that. So that would be the specific improvements would be to elevate mental wellness and emotional intelligence skills equal to academics. And those skills, once again, breath work, hydration, exercise, nutrition, sleep, living in gratitude, stop speaking negatively out loud. They're super simple and they're free. And if we all did those each day and encouraged our friends to do that, and then now we have a support group because we're all using the same skills, now we can support each other. And that's what mental health is. Okay. How often do young people affected by mental health seek support? Not very often. Those who actually are identified with mental health challenges, 2/3 don't get any help. Adults, like the typical onset of a mental health issue is typically around 14 years. That's like the half of all lifetime mental health conditions begin by age 14. And then the average delay of any treatment, once there is that onset, so 14, it's 8 to 10 years. So people start feeling how they're feeling and things are happening around age 14. That's not the magic number, but this like research shows. And then not until their 20s do they decide, or it gets so bad that we get some help, if we get any help at all. All right. So here's some more statistics. 70% of youth in state and local juvenile injustice systems have a mental health condition or a mental health illness. Right? That's crazy. That's just not right. That's because we don't have a system in place to help people, and then we put them in jail acting out on having mental health issues. And then now I'm in a situation where I'm not really getting the help that I need, and it's getting worse. At this point, and this is known stuff, so this is documented of those who actually are diagnosed with mental health issues. 1/3 of 18 to 25-year-olds have some sort of mental health issue. Okay. I did a study of around 400 of our students a couple years ago, and 71% had symptoms, some mild, some moderate, some severe symptoms of trauma, which is a fancy word for pain. And that's like hard to sleep, sleep too much, nightmares, can't focus on anything, there's all these little items that when you have these and something happened in your life, even if you don't want to identify it, we know that that's what's going on. There's some sort of trauma. All right. And trauma doesn't have to be like someone hurt me, like physically hurt me or violated me. Trauma can come from, I had to move 3 times. Trauma can come from poverty, where money is difficult. Trauma can come from a divorce. Trauma comes from all sorts of stuff. And so all of our students are going through it, and we just pretend that I guess they're going to get the help they need if they come about. Like, ask them for it. But it shouldn't be like that. We should come to you. Like I said, proactive versus reactive. Next one. What are some of the best ways adults can support students with mental illness? That would be to gain those mental wellness skills themselves. Okay? So let me back up. Yes, support meaning take away all the stigmas, take away all the discriminations, right? And just be there and support and actively get the help that someone needs, which could be a psychiatrist, a psychologist, counseling, so on and so forth. Excuse me. But the biggest, like, for real help, in addition to that, is learn those basic foundational mental wellness skills. And if I'm a parent and I learn how to do breath work, I'm going to share it with my kids. If I learn that I need to get the proper amount of sleep, I'm going to make sure that my kids are getting that. If I know that hydration, drinking enough water every day, has a lot to do with my mental wellness and my health, that's what I'm going to do. Gratitude, so on and so forth. So in addition to, taking away the stigma, taking away the other negative things that have to do with mental illness, it is to practice those foundational skills. All right. In what ways have you seen the internet or social media impact someone's mental health? Well, somewhat touchy, but I'm going to go for it. Okay. So I think there's several things. One is because of the internet, it's simultaneously a blessing, meaning, when I was coming up to get information, you had to go to the library, or you had a set of encyclopedias that, you buy them, they cost a grip of money, and they're out of date like a year or two after you spend all this money. So now you have the equivalent of libraries and encyclopedias and everything at our fingertips, and that's powerful. Also, social media is powerful because it gives voice to those who previously have been, marginalized and put back in the, back here. No, you don't get to speak your mind. So those two things are really super cool. The problem, though, is our brain is not capable of that amount of information that comes in. Like, we have capability of getting information and shoving it into our head 24 hours a day, right? 7 days a week, 365. We just really do. And our brain can't take that much, and we'll experience like shutdown or just overload just because of the amount of information. Now we add to the amount of it, what type of information are you pouring into your head? How much negative stuff are you pouring in? You get what I'm saying? So those are 2 items. Then there's, of course, by design, there's an addictive quality to information, social media, likes, dislikes, all that, whatever, all that stuff, right? And I'm on Instagram. I mess around with Twitter a little bit. Not so much Facebook. YouTube, I create YouTube content for students and teachers and parents. So I'm on it. I'm not, like I said, what did I say at the beginning? This is like an amazing tool for us to come together. All right. But unfortunately, there's all this other stuff that goes with it too. And what's interesting, if you research the Silicon Valley bosses or entrepreneurs, or the people that run Google, the people that run all these high-tech companies and create the stuff that we're on, they don't let their kids touch this stuff. Okay? They just don't. So what does that say? I don't know. You read between the lines and tell me what you think that says. That is powerful. And that without the proper mental wellness and emotional intelligence skills, it becomes addictive, and we fall into competition and comparison. And those three things are what make it really hurtful for a lot of folks. Like, we don't teach the skill of not taking other people's opinions personally, and that's a skill. And especially young folks are building their confidence and their courage, and when you see other people that quote unquote have it better than you, or maybe someone says something negative towards a post that you do, we take that in and it messes us up. And because we don't have once again, we have not been proactive and taught you the skills of, like, if someone comes at you foul, then that's on them. That's not on you, right? So, it's a lot. It's a lot. But once again, this all goes back to the proactive. If from preschool on, I'm learning gratitude, I'm learning conflict resolution, I'm learning how to think accurately about stuff and challenge my negative thoughts and all that entails with that, then I'm not tripping so hard. Okay. In general, what are some specific improvements that need to be made to help mental health issues in our country? Oh my God. For one, mental health is only about 4% of our healthcare budget. It's really low. It's really low. And I don't know, I forget the statistic, but there's so much money that's lost because of people's mental health issues. Like, I can't go to work. I do go to work, but I'm not doing my best. School days that are missed. People not knowing how to manage their emotions. Beat up each other, right? Which is more cost. I mean, I'm kind of simplifying it, but that's really kind of what it breaks down into, is we don't have mental health as a priority. We've demonized it. We've marginalized it. All that stuff. And it should be just a normal part. Because, look, when you listen to me talk about what real mental wellness skills are, and you break it down into those simplified categories, it's not so weird. It's not. But we choose to make it as, well, mental health help is sitting on a couch and reliving over and over again, da-da-da-da. That has its place, right? We do need to get stuff off our chest. We do need to explore the roots of stuff, okay? And that is important. However, we can make those types of things easier to achieve if we were all practicing stuff. And a lot of it has to do with what we're eating, how much sleep we're getting, what we're drinking, all that. Okay? Becoming comfortable with ourselves, self-awareness, like I said, managing your emotions. And when I say managing your emotions, that doesn't mean, I'm not saying not speak out about injustices in this country. That's a good mental health helper, is to fight for justice and to speak out against what's not right, okay? And not complaining, but speaking up and taking action. Those are good for our mental health. When we just take it, when we just feel like I don't have no power to make things better, that's bad for our mental health, Okay, that's another aspect for everything prior to this, is our school system is really built around, and I'm not speaking ill about, there's so many good teachers that don't do this, but our system in general, our education system in general, pumps out compliant students, pumps out students that want to know what I need to do, what do I need to learn, what do I need to remember, what do I need to do to get XYZ grade, whatever grade that you want. All right? And that's all I want to know about whatever I'm learning about. There's so much really to learn. Dr. Harari, Yuval Noah Harari, super amazing. Ask him, like, what's important after, what's important for you to be out into the real world? Like, what college degree should you get? What college should you go to? And he goes, man, it doesn't matter what college you go to, but you need to invest in mental balance. You need to invest in emotional intelligence. You need to invest in the ability to deal with change properly, to deal with fears that we have properly. Okay, those are what translate out into the real world. That's what makes leaders. It's almost like we're afraid of building leaders, but instead we build folks who look at learning in a particular way, be compliant, just do what I say. We don't teach enough of how to be collective, like how to work together, right? Which is a big reason why, let me skip down. Well, actually I don't have to, because I answered what are some of the best ways adults can support students with mental illness. We already talked about that. How has the pandemic affected mental health? So that's what I was about to say is prior to the pandemic, all these statistics were accelerating year by year, okay? And it's because we don't have the basic skills. It's because as we get to each goal, we find out that goal in and of itself is not something that makes me feel better, right? We don't teach that the work that you put in is really what you should be patting yourself on the back for, okay? It's not the A, it's the work that you put in that we should be giving you the credit for. It's not the fancy car, it's the work that you put in to be able to get that. It's not the 3 kids and all that. It's the work that you put in to have a good relationship with whomever it is, that you're having a family. That's what we should be rewarding. And we don't. We only reward the outcomes. So we become outcome oriented. And we don't focus on what makes me happy on the inside. We always are stuck with, well, when this happens, then I'll be happy. When I get this, then I'll be happy. And the pandemic has highlighted that, because I didn't get to walk last year, so that messed me up. I don't get to have the full college experience, so that's messing me up. And those are things to be messed up about. But the reality is, that's not going to change for a hot second. So how can I use my mental wellness skills, my emotional intelligence, to make it through that and focus on what I can be happy about, right? So another way that the pandemic has affected mental health is we are hardwired for community. We're hardwired for relationships. We're hardwired for working collectively. It's just research after research shows that. UCLA professor, Dr. Lieberman, I believe is his name, they found that the same part of your brain, the medial frontal cortex, that lights up when you have personal pain, it lights up when you see others having pain, right? So our brain is totally wired for connectivity. And now that we're apart, it just exacerbates all those other mental health things that we weren't addressing, that we weren't teaching you how to overcome, that we weren't teaching you the skills, like the basic ones that I talked about earlier. So now it's even more, right? How are people affected by mental health? Everyone. I actually didn't practice for this one. How are people affected by mental health? It affects every area of our life. It's everything. And what I wanted to also say is our mental health is a mind, body, spirit connection thing. Meaning, and if you're not spiritual, then you just substitute source of strength. So mind, body, spirit, mind, body, source of strength. We have been taught that those are all like separate things. Just like doctors have been taught like the digestive system is separate from the nervous system and so on and so forth, all the different body systems. No, they all work in harmony. When I'm not eating right, my mind isn't right. Like our gut has a brain. Our heart has a 40,000 neurite brain. Our brain has a brain, right? But they all converse with each other. And when something's off, it messes us up. So that's why we try and have some sort of harmony and work to build a better connection between the mind, body, spirit, the mind, body, source of strength, right? So that's what we need to preach to our pre-K through grade 12 students, because the reality is our college mental health facilities, the use of them is exploding. Like there's wait times to get into the mental health facilities because we're not addressing the root causes. We're not building folks with skills pre-K through grade 12. So I leave high school, right? And now I'm out on my own way more than I was pre-K through grade 12. I'm out there in college and I don't even know like how to take care of myself properly. Now I'm really like, I don't have no one to go to, so on and so forth. And you can check any college statistic. It's like USC over the last few years have gone up exponential. And I'm not picking on SC. You could go to any university and see the research of, well, what's the growth of mental health issues in college students? And boom, there you go. And it goes even deeper. Like, I'm going to go you're going to think I'm going way off, but it's totally connected. Meaning, our pharmaceutical companies are subsidized by our government, and they create all these drugs, right? Because there's a profit margin, a huge profit margin, and they don't even want us to learn how to breathe properly, to exercise, drink properly, our nutrition, okay, gratitude, stop speaking negatively out loud, the accurate thinking. Those are all free. There's no profit in them. The only profit is for you personally and collectively, that you're going to feel better and do better. All right. Here's another thing. Our government subsidizes 5 crops: corn, soybeans, wheat, cotton, and rice. None of those are healthy. Okay. But that's what the vast majority of food that is produced in our country, that's what it does. Okay. And grains provide 80% of the caloric needs in the whole world, and that's probably very close to that here in our country also. So, I don't know, man. It says I have to charge my battery pack, but I don't want to, I got to keep going. 60% of the world's agriculture is used for beef. All right. We don't grow vegetables. We don't grow enough of that kind of stuff. Why are avocados like $3 each or $2 each? They fall. All right, so we grow way too much stuff that really is not healthy. And 60% of what we grow is for meat, for chickens, beef, pigs, like all them. That's what they use, and we don't grow enough food that's healthy for us. We don't prioritize it. We don't make it accessible, and the fact that our nutrition is whack leads to all sorts of physical and mental health issues. They're totally connected. Our mind, body, spirit, source of strength is connected. So that's really how we're affected. Our mental health is affected by all that stuff. And it keeps us from being at our best. It makes it very difficult to be what we all want, which is happy. All right? It's difficult to feel fulfillment when you're battling anxiety and depression. And those come, once again, from initially, they come from not having the skills to deal with difficult circumstances, which is what I said very much in the beginning, where anxiety, depression, all that stuff, it's an attempt to deal with a challenge. And we don't even think of them as challenges, we just think of them negatively as problems, right? So I have a problem, something happened, or I perceive something happened, and then I have a reaction to it. And then because I lack those skills, I was never really taught those skills, and I never practiced them. Now I'm trying to figure out how to deal with it, and I keep like reliving whatever happened over and over and over again. I stay stuck in those emotions. And guess what? Anxiety creates chemical reactions within our body. Depression creates chemical reactions in our body, just like sadness does, just like happiness does, just like joy does. We have chemical reactions through our body. If I stay perpetually stuck in anxiety, then my body becomes really, for lack of a better word, addicted to those chemicals of anxiety. And when I try and get out of being anxious, my body is like, wait, what? No, that's not normal. You can't change. I don't want you to change, which is why change is so difficult, which is a whole other topic. All right? If I'm depressed often enough, excuse me, my body will get used to those chemicals of depression. And now my body is basically in control of my mind, of how I'm thinking, because I've become so accustomed to feeling a certain way. Maybe even like shame. Shame brings on chemicals. Guilt brings on chemicals. So once again, if I'm constantly feeling shameful about whatever something that I have not let out, that I have not spoken to somebody about, then I get used to that and it becomes my normal way of living. And that's not good. None of that is good. And that's what brings on disease. That's the whole mental, physical connection, and of course the spiritual part or source of strength. They all work together. And we treat this as an education system as if it's no big deal. I mean, we treat it is a big deal, but after the fact. Once again, we are reactionary as opposed to being proactive. Okay? And my reaction is based on whatever skills that I have to be able to deal with whatever just happened. So we don't teach anybody any skills on how to deal with what happens in their life. So we just flounder around, and then at some point maybe we go to a workshop or read a book or all that stuff. Here we are though, we have 57 million preschool through grade 12 students that would benefit every day from learning these skills in class, okay, and practicing them and then helping each other and encouraging them. Now the whole school knows what's up. Now I can encourage each other. Now my group of friends is up on game on all this stuff. Then our parents come in, and of course our teachers actually have to be first in this whole sequence of learning mental wellness skills, emotional intelligence. And it's going to take a bunch of students and a bunch of parents rising up and saying enough is enough, and we want all of our schools, pre-K through grade 12, to elevate mental wellness and emotional intelligence skills equal to academics. And you, by doing that, will actually pave your way for excuse me, a better career that you want. It will pave the way for better relationships that you want. It will pave the way for the business that you want. It will pave the way for working on social justice issues that you want to work on. All that stuff requires us to be at our best emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, for me personally, or that you're in tune with your source of strength. It's crucial. It's super crucial. And lastly, these mental wellness skills, these emotional intelligence skills, they make you powerful. They create powerful individuals, which create, powerful collectives and groups, which means that because we feel we're powerful, that means that we're going to act better towards each other, okay? And then that means that real significant changes in our society will happen because people are coming from a better place in their decisions, okay? So it's totally all related, and I hope that made sense. I don't know. It's just a lot. And if you need references for the research and all that, I'll definitely get that to you. Okay? So let me check this. Let me see how I did on this, and I'll get you the recording. All right. I appreciate you guys for doing this, for asking me. If you need anything different or more of or less of or whatever, let me know. All right. I appreciate y'all. All right. Bye.